My son upset me when he showed me his first tattoo. You see, I didn't like the idea of him getting a tattoo. I didn't even notice he was taking photos. There I'm touching the tattoo. He made the story about us and he called it a zine. I still don't like his tattoo, but I do love the zine. So I set out to learn more about zines. And here's what I found.
When I think about zines, I think of homemade, usually sort of cheaply made.
A handmade book, a low-budget magazine.
Kind of cool underground print media. It's all about keeping it accessible and sort of less expensive. We don't like the snobby art scene, so I think that's a big part of what makes zines so cool.
I think about the mindset of making zines, which is do it yourself.
I would describe zine as like of the people, from the people, by the people.
I don't feel like my drawings have to be perfect. The culture of zines is kind of just like come as you are.
His hallucinations book again. So we decided to start making zines about a little under a year ago, actually.
We decided, well, wouldn't it be so cool to sort of discuss the science behind volcanoes, really focusing on the visual aspect of it and sort of using pictures and diagrams to describe typically more complicated ideas.
Making zines is so satisfying. There's so much pride that I take from making something and distilling my thoughts into something I can share with people.
Zines are really an effective way of artists not waiting for other people to tell them they are talented enough and special enough to share their work with the public.
By means of printing, the fund of knowledge accumulated through the ages is available to everyone, rich and poor alike. Printing is essential to all education. All the other arts rely on it. Religious movements depend on it. Business could not function without it, nor could government. Perhaps you will find a place for your tastes and talents in printing.
There was an explosion in zine making in the 60s as people had more access to offset printing. And then you saw another explosion in the 80s when there was more access to Xerox copying. There seems to have been a real kind of moment for zines in the 90s. The Riot Girl zine culture, which was a feminist punk zine culture. One of the fruitions from it was sharing of zines and sharing of ideas through zines. Today, though, there seems to be a resurgence going on. They seem to be in reaction to the internet. They seem to be this physical, tangible exercise that people are doing as they get bored with sharing stuff online, or maybe they don't find it fulfilling enough.
I think that part of it does have something to do with a reaction to what you might call like digital fatigue and like an heightened interest in printed materials. But I think it serves a much more fundamental purpose than that. When you put a zine or something like that out into the world, you could put it online, but if nobody knows who you are, why would they buy it? So the way to do it is to go meet someone in person and sell it to them, you know? Or give it to them for free or whatever, but you're engaging with that individual. That personal engagement is like one of the fundamental elements to creating a community around it.
You're seeing zine fests sprouting up all over the Bay Area. You're seeing, over the last 5 years, attendance doubling.
Zine fests are really the only place where these people who would otherwise be solitary can come together and kind of share their work, see what other people are doing, and kind of see each other face to face as opposed to an online venue. I think the East Bay has its own unique identity, and I think that's reflected in the work. The work that you find here is deeply personal. It's very unique work that's produced not to make a profit, but just as a more pure form of expression.
I started in late '76 at around Christmas when Allen Ginsberg gave me $100 to publish the first zine on punk rock, but it just absolutely took me months to figure out how the heck to do it. I think you can go back to, in America, Walt Whitman, Leaves of Grass, for example, which is still a up-to-date manifesto. It's a zine expressing all these American ideals of freedom, liberty, tolerance, and he had to publish that himself. That is a zine. Freedom, independence, 100% control. To me, that's what a zine is about. Once it's on paper and circulating around, no one in the CIA or whoever can press a button and change the text. Here, I have one. What's that? I really hope that everybody in the world makes one zine themselves, because you have to do physical things. You can't do it all on a computer.
Here's some illustrations I did from my zine. They're all completed. That's my partner. And a lot of these are from the zine, so you can see, like, let's see if I can find the one. Oh yeah. Here's Miche and Solo. I go under the name of Mixed Rice Zines. The process that I go through is a little bit of like cut and paste, where I take magazines, I use scissors and glue, cut and paste literally like into a physical copy of a zine. I mix that with using the computer and going on Photoshop and Illustrator. After I get all my submissions or photos, I print it all out, and then I cut and paste all of them into a physical copy of a zine so that I know like what page goes on what. Then I photocopy them and put them onto the computer, and I do a little bit more drawing on top. My zines are focused on the narratives of people of color, and then specifically queer and trans folks, as well as mixed race identity. It's more about the community and having a bunch of different people who like share this identity. Maybe we have some generalizations of what that means or common experiences, but when I have these people send in submissions and tell their story, it really like opens up what it means to be like queer and trans and mixed race. I like that. I can make this thing here in my room and print them for not very much money, and it like everyone wants a copy, and everyone is writing me little emails saying like, I really appreciate you making the zine, and I don't know, I just get a lot of really positive feedback through it.
My name is Raphael Billette, and I'm an artist from San Francisco working out of Oakland. I run Play Press. We print zines for artists. I think that the zine is a great format. The zines are very personal. And, you know, I'm trying to put as much effort into making the zine itself look very personal. And I don't want to say precious, but I want to say, like, not something that you would just throw around. My printer only prints in red and black. And I could get more colors, but it would cost a lot more money. And there's something about working with constraints, working within them, and being creative in them that I really like.
Tiny Splendor is a small publishing press that focuses primarily on risograph printing. I'm very attracted to what I would call a color economy. Even though we utilize many colors in our printing, I think our philosophy is more related to trying to use as few colors as possible to get the effect that we want. Each drum is dedicated to a particular color, so right now I have black in here, but this could be any color that we have. It's kind of like loading a torpedo or something like that. And in the traditional art world as well, it can be looked down upon to have this kind of color economy view because it is a more commercial perspective in the notion that you need to cut costs by running less colors and it takes less time, but I think that that aesthetic is important to what we do and to our philosophy of utilizing what we have to the greatest extent.
Whenever I tell people what a risograph is, they always sort of go, oh, wow, because you never really see anything like this. It takes your image, it scans it, and it burns a silk screen instantly and wraps it around an ink drum and prints your image at a really fast pace.
We started Unity as a way to publish our own zines, and as we continued the press, we started publishing our friends and other artists that we liked in the community. And I think that's what our most recent goal has been with the press, is trying to offer resources to people and publish more queer artists and black and brown artists as well, and that's definitely been on our minds. Which one do you like on the cover?
I like this as a cover.
Yeah. Do you like that one or this one? I like this one. I like this one. My earlier work was more inspired by my own personal sexuality and identity. I've been trying to depict characters of all queer identities because I feel like it's really rare to see queer sex or queer people depicted in art in a positive way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're just trying to use whatever resources that we have available to change the spaces that we're in. Do you think the mics can pick up the sounds of all the paper?
Yeah. Let me see this. Yeah. Let me see this.
A zine is a really different thing than an artwork that lives in a museum or gallery space. They're not usually made in a way that is particularly lasting, but that's also what's so powerful about them. Zines are not generally meant to be static objects that you view just the cover of. You want to be able to pick them up and hold them and turn the pages. And I think that points to one of the big challenges of institutions. If we were to take them into the collection or display them really regularly, we wouldn't be able to have the public handle them. And they're powerful when they're in someone's hands.
The thing about institutionalized art and big mainstream museum artworks, and even on a smaller scale, just gallery art, it costs money. You can't own it really, you know? Like you could, but like if you want to buy a painting, you're gonna have to drop like $1,000 on it. If you want to buy a zine, you can get it for $2, you know? It just keeps coming back to accessibility.
You don't have to be someone with a lot of money to make a zine. Whether their voice is often heard or whether their voice is often never heard, a voice from every corner has made a zine to share their story, to share what's important to them. And that's the beautiful thing about zines.